Okay, this is Gary Brown forging on. This is about my 6th take of this thing. If it's not the microphones going out or redoing it, so you're gonna see some of these videos are gonna be me in my gray work shirt. It's all holy and ratted out, and I got on my that's the name of my forge, Hillside View Forge. I got my better shirt on today because I came back out after I got back in the house last night, started editing, realized my sound was gone in some of the clips. My some of the stuff I thought I shot apparently didn't come out or was super blurry. So anyway, I came back out here to retake it. And some of the shots actually showed this, which will be at the end, is when it's straight. But I took it and heated up today and rebent it. And I laid out marks on there. It'll come out or not. 3 at the center, going up and down here. Oops, sorry. And then I put 3 1/4 inch apart, like that. Of course, I start out with 1/2 inch rod, 16 inches long. What I'm doing is, I received a scholarship last year in 2018 from AACB, which is Appalachian Area Chapter Blacksmiths, to take a class. And part of the scholarship agreement is when I take a class, I have to do a demo at an AACB meeting. I have to write an article for their newsletter explaining something either about my trip or what I learned or some aspect of it, which is what I'm doing here. And also, I have to make something with the knowledge I learned from the class to sell at one of their auctions to help raise money so that they can have scholarships for future blacksmiths. So anyway, this is what I was wanting to do. Is I made a table. I took a class at John C. Campbell Folk School in North Carolina. I live in Tennessee. And I went over there, I signed up. It's a great school. I mean, they do blacksmithing, woodworking, wood turning, wood this, wood that. They do quilting, banjo playing. I mean, they just do everything. It's a folk school. And there was, I think, 3 or 4 of us that were doing the blacksmith class. And there was probably 120 people there. So, I mean, there's got things going everywhere going on. But in ours, it was an advanced joinery class. And we made a round table that had a 1/2 inch round ring, outer ring, and then another 1/2 inch round, 1/2 inch square bar, 1/2 inch square bar that was made round. And we had to slit and drift it after we forge welded the ends, made it perfectly round. Same with the inner ring, was slit and drifted. But before we forge welded it, while it was still straight, we had to slit and drift at a 90-degree angle from where you're forge welding. And for some cross pieces that were also forge welded, and then they were collared or band on the ends. I'll try to put a link of a picture up there. The legs were 1/2 inch material, and they had rivets holding a band across the bottom. So we did riveting, we did bands or collars, whatever you want to call them, or at the top. The legs came up and you forged them down into tenons, then you slit and drifted the outer ring and put them up through there and hammered them down. So you had tenons and drifting and slitting, the forge welding, the bands and bands or collars, and regular rivets, and that's all I can think of right now. And well, one of the things we did besides all that was we had to make square corners. Every leg had to be a square corner. And normally what I did here is I just made a hold down. That's part of what I did yesterday. And just to show the square corner. But and if you're doing a hold down, if you get the corner, you know, an inch out of whack either way, it don't matter. I mean, it's still just a hold down. But when you're doing legs, or you're doing a corner of a perfectly, like a window frame or square, then you have to keep, you put a center punch dot at the corners, and you have to keep those in the corners, because as you forge them, the dot moves away from the place, kind of, sort of. So this is what I found out in when I'm forging here. The dot appears to be moving, like when I hammered it from the top on the anvil, hammering down this way on the top. You'll see it in the video. It actually makes the dot like on this one. Let's see how it's hammered. The last way it hammered was this way. And it actually looks like it made the dot drive way down here when it was up here. And in reality, it's just bending this chunk of steel around the dot, pushing this out more, kind of elongating it this way. But the reason I was wanting to do this is it's kind of a combination. I do it for the forge, and instead of just putting a single dot, I put a series of dots in the piece. And so I laid it out right in the center. I put 3 vertical dots. And then I came out a 1/4 inch and I put 3 dots in each direction, a 1/4 inch apart, right in the center. And the reason I did this is I was watching, it was a combination of 2 things. I was watching John Switzer over at Black Bear Forge, and he was doing a whole series on upsetting and how different machinery, different ways of hammering, between a power hammer, a smaller hammer, a larger hammer, or using a press, all upset steel differently that are heated, same size, heated same way. They all get upset differently depending on how you work them. Excuse me. And at the same time, he kind of put out there, you know, go out of the shop and experiment and do some testing and see what happens. And it kind of made me think, instead of just doing a dot, I want to see some more what's going on. Because in a YouTube video I watched with Peter Ross was on the Woodwright shop, I believe, with Roy Underwood. And they were making a hold down, which had a 90-degree in it, like just like a regular anvil hold down, but it was for a wood workbench. And he was going to forge one for Roy Underhill. And Roy would mention an upset corner, and Peter said, no, that is not an upset corner. It's actually just a corner. And so I wanted to see if he was right, wrong. I know he's going to be right because he's been blacksmithing. Peter Ross was the main blacksmith for many years at Williamsburg, Virginia. And he's been teaching, and he's been doing this. I've been doing it 4.5 years. He's probably been doing it 30, 40 years. I don't know how long he's been blacksmithing. Just like Mark Asbury, or even John Switzer over at Black Bear Forge. They're all got, you know, decades over me. But I just wanted to see kind of like, is there a way I can prove what he's saying? And so I ended up going through this process, and we ended up going through it, and you'll basically see in this how it turns out, and how this ends up being the 3 dots in the center and 3 dots going down, which kind of gives it away about how it's going to turn out. So I hope this video comes out, because this will be about my 6th try at this. And anyway, hope you subscribe, hope you like, stick around, watch the process. I know I'm doing a lot of talking here, but just wanted to explain what I'm doing. And watch the process and the clips. And I'll probably leave out stuff about making the hold down and that, because that's not really what this is about. It's all about the corners. And I hope you have a blessed day. And like I said, subscribe, like, comment, let me know what you think, and continue watching. Thanks. First thing we're going to do is put this in the bending fork, and you want your 3 dots right here, I don't know if it's showing up or not on the camera, to be equally spaced between the 2 forks. So as you bend it around, you have to adjust your forks a little. You want it to be more in the center, so just keep working with it. I'm actually going to overbend this a little beyond 90, so it's a little bit more of an acute angle. It's a little twisted. I'll straighten that out. And then we'll put it in the vise, and I'll show you a couple different techniques. And what I'll end up using is probably the last one you'll see. Now this is the way that some people will put a square corner in. And at John C. Campbell in the class, the instructions was actually to grab another hammer, take 2 hammers and hit this way, and basically you're driving that metal up. Something to point with here. You're driving this metal up into the corner. And it worked pretty good. I actually did this at John C. Campbell, and that worked pretty good as far as putting the corner in there, and it kind of kept your dots in the center. But I started switching one way or the other and actually drove the dots one side or the other. Problem is John C. Campbell had about 6-inch vices. I got a 4-inch vice, and no matter how hot I got it and how hard I cranked it down, it would not hold, and I just keep driving the unit, the piece out of the vice. So I'm going to go to the way I used to do it, which is an old way, and that's how I'll heat it up and show you now. Alright, so I'm going to clamp this in the vise. I'm actually going to start driving this sweeping blows. And it's working its way back. The corner looks like it's right here. Right here is the corner, but actually my dots are over here because the other way got bent out. And so I'm basically driving this back down in this here curve, back down into this corner. And you can also do this standing it up on the anvil. I'll show a few hits that way, but you have to cool your legs, the leg parts down enough so they don't deform so much. Okay. So the center dots are more up this leg, so. Now, it'll show up on there. You can see they started out over, they started out, as I started hammering, the dots were right here, and now they're over here. More because I drove this down and pushed it past it into like a curve. So now if I come back, heat this up and hammer down, it should drive back down to the middle. Which is just, drive this back down to the middle. Got off camera there. But so now my dots are up here, actually above the curve a little. So let's heat it up and drive from the other direction. Okay, so the dots are up on the upper side of this curve. And now they have moved. I hope that's coming in focus. They were up here, and now they moved here. But actually, they probably just stayed the same spot, and I just pushed this metal around it. But it's back more into the corner here, and I just need to straighten that out a little. But you can see we're working our way into a square corner. And we're just chasing these dots back and forth. Okay, I'll do it this way. I've saved you all a bunch of the hammering just because it's not much to see. I just went back and forth, and I kept pushing the dots away. Now I'm in here, and the dots are actually, I'm doing a sweeping motion like this to drive that into the corner. And this 4-inch vise won't hold in. But you can see these dots are now, this bottom dot is right in the center, and this one's out. This one's right in the bend, but this one's out toward the outside edge. It's kind of got a curve to it. That may have been from all the other hammering I was doing. You can still see there's 3 dots here in the middle. This little one here was a mistake. I missed with a punch. It's that one, and this outside one. And they're pretty much staying in the middle. This here one's about closed up. Can't hardly tell. But when I was hammering on the anvil and hammering from the ends down, it was driving these around the corner because it's basically pushing this bar down here and leaving this over away from the corner. So it looked like it came this way, but really this was getting wrapped around it. But I kept doing that back and forth off camera because I think you want to sit there, just reheat and hammer, reheat and hammer. And until I got it close, and I still don't have a corner yet. I mean, I actually need a legit corner. But I think I will hammer some more if I can get this vise to hold a little tighter, and try to hammer some of this down in and some of this down in. Now I got to reheat it all. Now another thing's happening, I just happened to notice, is a little 1/2 inch cheater thing. And I'm still 1/2 inch pretty good. Don't burn myself. All the way down through here. It's a little loose here, but if you look this way, move from 1/2 inch and it is really swelled out. So I need to push this material back in, and probably the same on this end here. Yeah, so this is swelled out, and that's swelled out. So I need to dress those down and get them back down to 1/2 inch. And that'll give me more material in here to push into the corner. So I'm going to just do that off camera. I'm just going to heat this up, hammer these down towards 1/2 inch, and I'll come back to this corner. Okay. This filming just causes it to take too long, so I'm going to do sweeping motions again. And they're pretty lined up, them center holes. I don't know if you can see it or not. This thing was in line right here, and these dots have moved out. So this dot has stayed almost in the right spot, but this inside dot has gone this way. And I'm not seeing a lot of it. We'll measure when we get through to see where these holes. I had to repunch these holes after flattening this out to make it 1/2 inch this way. You barely see the marks anymore, so I repunched them. Well, I can still see them. But every hitting into this corner this way with a sweeping motion has actually caused the hole, this material, to go that way. So now I'm going to heat it up, hold it from the, I don't know if it's showing up on the video or not. This end down here is the end I upset. I'll put it over here, and we'll see if it, as I hammer it the other way, if we can drive this actually from this corner all the way over to here. Go from over here to over to here. So let's give that a try. Let me heat this back up. All right. Yeah, this is looking for a square corner. Not bad. Probably have maybe a 1/16 inch more, but this video is getting long, so I think I will call it quits. I mainly wanted to see how these dots moved, and we'll come back here in a minute, and after I cool this down, I have to look behind my camera. Okay, so as you can see, from here to here is actually a little tad over a 1/4 inch, maybe, said before, maybe 5/16, and then from, if I get it on a line, from that one to this one's 3/16, but then from that one to that one's a 1/4 inch, and the same on this. So we had a little bit of collapsing, I don't know if this will show up, right in here and right in here, but it was only all that hammering, we only did a 1/16. This stayed about the same, this stayed about the same, this stayed about the same, and this stayed about the same. So that's kind of interesting. So and I don't know how much this got smashed, but I believe from doing this that it just proves Peter Ross's point that this is not an upset corner, in that there just isn't enough shoving in there to make it an upset. Not like it did on the end, where we actually went in some on the end. I didn't measure it, but you know how upsetting works. So if not, there's a bunch of videos out there, and like I said, John Switzer did. Say his name right? Anyway, from Black Bear Forge, he did a good video on upsetting. But this kind of shows you where we started. So this almost lines up. This is a little narrower than this, and that one goes out because this one goes out. If I line those back two up, that one and that one, then this one's past this point. So this here part's the part that's squished in, and everything on both of them. So I mean, the fact that it's squished in a hair, I guess could mean it's a upset corner, but you know, take it for what it's worth. It's still too hot. Hold on. So, in case you're interested, all I did is I made this end an octagon here, and just quit there. Put my touch mark over here. Yeah, so. I did half off with upset corners to make a foot, bent that over the horn, and it'll show up around. And I narrowed, oh, ooh, that's crooked. Anyway, I narrowed this part out and this part out. I was trying to get it more, I was actually going to bring it almost to an edge to get more strength in there, but I was also trying to hammer left-handed and save my right arm as much as I could. And I mainly just wasn't into, I'm really not making this video on how to make a hold down. I wanted to see the square corner and how it worked. So I hope this was useful or informational, and thank you, John Switzer, for the challenge, and thanks for watching. I hope you subscribe and like the channel, and I don't know how long this is going to be until I get in there and edit it, but hopefully it won't be too bad. And y'all have a blessed day. We'll talk to you later.